Hey guys, welcome to the One Fun Guy podcast. Tonight's not an actual podcast. I'm just going live to make a couple quick announcements. I know last night I said I would go live either tomorrow or Thursday, but I kind of just wanted to put it out there after all of my messages today. The podcast on Friday that I'm going to do with the Mark and Joe show, Joe actually messaged me and said I can find that under the Insane Asylum. So if you're on YouTube or you're on Facebook, it'll be Insane Asylum. Their link will link it up to their page, but the Insane Asylum is where they told me to go. That's where you could find it on social media. I don't know what platform they're using as far as broadcasting, but it reaches out to a plethora of different places, but it's the Insane Asylum is where they're on. So that was the first thing I wanted to make mention. Still the same time, still the same day. It's Friday, February 16th at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time for the Insane Asylum show. And then right after that will be the One Fun Guy podcast with my buddy Matt Thayer. He is a super awesome dude. If you didn't catch our live the other day when me and him were just messing around trying to figure out the Facebook Live thing, he is an incredible person. He's a fraternity brother of mine. I've known him for a very, very long time, going on 25 years now. And he is just an incredible person, but not only is he super funny, just like me, but we will have some stories to tell. But he has an amazing past that kind of only a few people could ever dream about doing that. So he is a really cool character, and I'm super, super excited to have him on the show. Going on to the future, I had a conversation with one of my friends last night, and I think what I'm going to do is I don't want to say broaden my horizons, because if you guys know me, I'm pretty much passionate about a lot of different things. The podcast is obviously the number one thing in my life right now that I'm super, super focused on. Obviously, besides, my normal job and getting healthy and all the other stuff. But as a passion project, this is it for me. So I jotted down some notes of some other people that I watch. And I realized that just besides doing all the other stuff that I have done in the past, I really am a huge fan of watches and watch collecting. I watch a ton of YouTube videos on watches and what's new in the market. And so I'm super passionate about watches. And I've always been, since a kid, a huge wrestling fan. So me and my buddy James were talking the other day about factions. If you go to my YouTube page, the first video I ever posted was the 10 greatest tag teams, and me and him had not so much a debate, but a conversation, and he put a video out and I kind of rebutted it. And I think 8 out of our top 10 were the same. Just a few things were different and the order was different. So we have been talking about doing a kind of a secondary to that, which is the best wrestling factions. So we have kind of been bouncing back and forth, and I think what I'm going to do is just make it official and have him as a guest on the One Fun Guy podcast, and that entire episode is going to be dedicated to wrestling and the factions that we have been talking about. So I'm super excited about that. I'm also a big knife guy and gun guy. Some of those things we can and can't talk about here because of the algorithms, but I'm big into the weapons community, and I follow a lot of firearms channels, and I follow a lot of knife channels. So like Metal Complex, he's a guy on YouTube that I follow. Nick Shabazz is another guy. He actually does knives and watches, which is kind of cool. So there are a bunch of people that I follow outside of just podcasters. Obviously, that's been my big thing. I've been watching a lot of podcasts to get ideas and pulls from, but I'm super passionate about a bunch of other stuff too. And I kind of just realized that, like, I'm just going to start tapping into the things that I like, and hopefully you guys like it too. I have, like I said, a bunch of people lined up, from all different walks of life, but I have friends that like are watchmakers, and I have friends that like I worked in the jewelry business as security for a long time, and I've just seen things come and go, and I befriended a bunch of people that were in that community. So I think I'm going to start tapping into that as well. I read a very interesting stat, and it said that most podcasts will not have more than 4 guests. If they make it to episode number 4, then they're doing better than 50% of all the other podcasters that are out there. And if they make it to 9 guests, then it's kind of like a different, you're in a different, like number of percentage of people that like have podcasts that after their like night show, they run out of people and they just kind of fold. So I have 9 guys already lined up. Or I should say 9 people, because there are 2 females in there as well. So I'm pretty stoked about this, guys. Like I don't know what's going to happen with it. I don't know what the future is going to hold. I see Randy popped on with a thing. Let me see if I could read this. Yeah, so I agree. So like, doing the cop stuff and doing that is awesome, because obviously that's what I've been doing for the past almost 20 years now. I've been in law enforcement for 17 years total. So that's kind of what I knew, but I'm big into other communities. So I'm going to tap into those as well. And I'm just kind of excited that like, I just kind of think that's something that's as fun as this for me, and just kind of like a passion project, kind of just is going to turn into something that could be, a longevity thing for me. So I'm like super stoked about that. So, I just want to know if there's anything that like the viewers that watch, if you guys want me to talk about like anything, like obviously I know what excites me. Again, I worked in the auto industry, was my first job coming out of college. I'm passionate about cars and trucks. I'm in a bunch of truck groups because of my current pickup. So there's a lot of things that keep me excited and like keep me going. So I'm really, really happy that like I have a good community of like support on here for me, which is awesome. But I also like the idea that like I can tap in to a bunch of other people and have conversations with them about what they're passionate about and what they like to do. So with that being said, like I said, some of my guests that are coming up, we're going to talk about things that just are different but unique, and they make me excited, which hopefully get you excited, and maybe you can just learn something about something you're maybe not familiar with, or that you don't really have a background about. Obviously, I know a lot of people think that wrestling is hokey and that it's fake and it's fixed and it's all this, and that pretty much is. I mean, it's not fake in terms of like the athleticism, but it's choreographed, and all the wrestlers have basically come out and said it, that like, they obviously know what's going to happen in the outcome of the matches, but it's still fun and it's still entertaining. And I've pretty much been a fan of it since I can remember, like 6 or 7 years old. So pretty much my entire life, I've been a fan of professional wrestling. I fell out of it for a little bit. Now I'm back into it. But it's just something that like, I enjoy it. I guess, a lot of people say it's like a soap opera for guys. So be it, then that's what it is, but I enjoy it. So that is something that I'm passionate about, as well as music. I have a wide variety of music, but I'm obviously a hard rock, heavy metal fan. So that community is like super huge. And one of the guys that I'm actually talking to right now, I met at a Unleash the Archer show at the Forge in Joliet. He has his own podcast about history. It's super successful, and he and I just kind of hit it off, and we've been friends. Now, he's moved to Florida since the show, but we've been messaging back and forth on YouTube, and he is like a wealth of knowledge in the podcast game. So he's been giving me a bunch of pointers, and I'm going to reach out to him and get even more. So it's just, you never know who you're going to run into, who you're going to rub elbows with, who's going to pop in and out of what you're doing at a certain time. So I'm embracing that. It's weird because I never had, when I started with social media, just to give you a little bit of background in this, I logged in under Crystal's page, my wife's page. And I would pretty much follow all my friends on Facebook through her. So I friend requested everybody, and they're like, who the heck is the Clubhouse? Like, what is that? I'm like, oh, it's my wife's business page, but I don't have Facebook. I was not against social media. I just really wasn't involved in it. And so I was just using her page for a couple of years. Then all of a sudden, I said, well, why don't I just start my own Facebook page? Which I did, which is the Bebe page. I guess I will go on record now. Or you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'll wait till a later time. I was going to tell you how I got the name because Crystal still doesn't know. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't understand the Bebe thing. But all right. So that'll be a different story. But that's how I started with social media. So now I started a TikTok channel. It's still under Bebe. I can't switch it for another 2 weeks to get it to the One Fun Guy podcast, which I'm going to do. But I met a couple of like guys that are like in bands, and they just said, hey, what's up? Glad. Thank you for the support. And I'm like, no problem. I like the music or whatever. And we've been talking. I've been talking to a couple of guys in bands, and I'm like, hey, do you guys want to be on my podcast? And they're like, sure, whenever we get time, we'd love to. So like, you never know who you're going to reach out to or who's going to like a video or who's going to pop on and say, hey, thanks for supporting what we do. We'll support what you do. And I've never met these guys. Like I know their music and I'm familiar with it, but like I've never met in person. Now I've been talking to them and they're super excited about what I'm doing, and I'm super stoked about what they're doing. And they're actually coming through Illinois in a little bit, so I'm going to go see them in July. So I'll meet them and like actually get to like talk to them. And I might just podcast from the show if that's a possibility, because they said that after the show, they like to hang out and they're not going anywhere. And I was like, well, if you can give me 45 minutes of your time, I'd love to have you on my podcast. And I don't really need much to set up other than my phone and a stand, in a venue. So that might actually be kind of cool. So again, the possibilities for me are kind of endless at this point. But the main reason for hopping on tonight was just to remind everybody about Friday. Joe reached out to me and asked me if I could just kind of clarify that it is the Mark and Joe show, which is what it's linked to, but you will find it under the Insane Asylum. I know I mentioned it before, but Joe is a paranormal expert, and I will call him an expert because he is renowned about that kind of stuff. I personally know nothing about the paranormal in terms of like ghost hunting, but I am a huge horror movie fan, and I've seen every ghost movie that you could possibly think of. I've seen all the possession movies that you could possibly think of. So even though in terms of like the paranormal realm, I'm not really super keen on like the terminology and what they do, but I've seen enough ghost hunting movies and enough ghost movies where I think I could be throw my 2 cents in the mix for that. I'm super excited to hear what they do, because that seems like it's a fun thing. Again, I'm very kind of borderline about ghosts and spirits and stuff. And I kind of like to think that, after somebody passes into the next life, that they're happy and that they're not like tortured, and they're not like, if they're here, they're trying to help us and guide us. They're not like trying to haunt us. I like to think that anyways, but it'll be a unique perspective to see what they have to say about the subject matter, because obviously of all the horror movies I've watched that have anything to do with ghosts, it is they can be not friendly, let's put it that way. So like I said, I personally like to think that they would be our guides, that they would be there to help us, and that they would be there to like maybe make a decision for us. Like you're on the fence about something, and somebody you hear that little voice and it says do this, and so I'd like to believe that they're here to help us. But again, I don't know, so I'll get their perspective on things. So it's kind of cool in that regard. So that'll be Friday at 5:00 Central Standard Time. Again, it's the Insane Asylum. It'll be linked to the Mark and Joe show, but it's on every platform for social media. It's the Insane Asylum. So on their Instagram, on their Facebook, on their everything is the Insane Asylum, and you can see Joe highlighted it like on their banner, so that's what they go by. The name pops up Mark and Joe, but it's the Insane Asylum. If you're on any other platform, that's what they'll be under. That's where you can find me. I'm going to be a guest on their show on Friday at 5, and then I'll have Matt on right after at 7 o'clock Central Standard Time on the One Fun Guy podcast. So Matt will be my guest, but I'm going to be their guest. So that's what's going on. So I'm super excited. Like I said, I didn't want to make this super long. I think I'm about the 15-minute mark right now. But I just wanted to say, that the show, I'm broadening my horizons and I'm tapping into things, and I don't want to copy anybody's show particularly. However, there are some people that have influenced me on how I'm doing my podcast. I'm not going to plagiarize anything they're doing or take or steal any of their ideas, but the formats that they use, I like, and I like the conversation style podcast. What I like to do, like I said, with using StreamYard, I'm too new to do it yet, so I have to wait a few weeks in order to do that. However, StreamYard lets you have multitudes of guests on. I think it's 4 people at once, so that might be kind of cool to get maybe 2 or 3 other people on besides me and have a conversation with 2 or 3 other people about a topic or a subject matter. So that's all down the works. Like I said, I'm new to this, so I'm making a ton of mistakes and I'm trying to fix them as I go along. But the platforms I'm using right now, I think I've kind of synced everything into it. Again, Crystal's been a huge help because she is social media savvy and I unfortunately am not, but I'm learning. So I think I'm now able to, I synced pretty much all my socials together except for TikTok, because that's still under the Bebe moniker, which is fine. But it's still me, but it's not the One Fun Guy podcast. And I'm trying to separate that from my other one. So when I'm able to do the One Fun Guy podcast, then I will just create another page under the Bebe name where I can kind of do all the other stuff. But I want my podcast to be focused on my podcasting and guests and things like that, and all the media outlet that I put out there is I want it to be focused on that. So with that being said, if you guys can still once again like, follow, and share not only this video but all my other stuff. I'm trying to do the page of the One Fun Guy Unscripted, where it's just stuff that focuses on the podcast. Obviously, I put stuff out that links from my normal page to that page. So if I post something on my personal page, it will pop up on the One Fun Guy podcast, which I'm fine with, but it won't go to Unscripted if I don't want it to. So I just want the One Fun Guy podcast Unscripted to be solely for the podcast, and then Bebe and the One Fun Guy podcast will kind of be both interactions and things like that. So if that makes any sense, I hope it did. But like I said, I'm just trying to sync everything. And so if you could head over to my YouTube channel, guys, it's the One Fun Guy podcast. If you can subscribe to my channel, I don't even need you to like a video, give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. It doesn't matter. But the subscriptions will help boost who sees my show on YouTube. And then it will also help gain numbers for me, so I can start doing shorts, and then I can start doing lives from YouTube, which is the platform I want to use. Like I said, nothing wrong with Facebook. It's been great. However, the algorithm is really bizarre, and YouTube, you can just go live for as long as you want, and when you're done, you can edit the video, you can put things in the description, and there's a lot more stuff you can do with YouTube than you can't do with Facebook. But Facebook is the platform that I'm using for now. It's been great. It's what got me started. So I have nothing but love for Facebook. Same with Instagram. I'm going to try to do an Instagram live. I believe I'm going to try to do that next week and kind of see how that is. So that'll be interesting. And like I said, StreamYard will be in a few weeks. I'm just too new to use it. It says check back in a few weeks. Because of the date that I registered my account and the date that I have StreamYard set up, it's not letting me do that. But it will eventually, so that's kind of, like I said, down the road. That'll be awesome, and that'll be my platform. And StreamYard is great because it sends it out to Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and I believe there's another platform that I could use. And one video sends it out to all three. So I don't need three cameras, because right now I'm doing Facebook Live, but I can't do Instagram Live unless I have another camera, or YouTube Live. Once I get 100 subscribers, I would need a third camera in order to do all three, where StreamYard is one video, three platforms, which is rock star in the podcast game. So that's what's coming down the pipeline, guys. Again, thank you for all the love and support. I truly, truly appreciate it. If you could just share this, like it, and follow my pages, that would be great. And again, if you know anybody who wants to be a guest on my podcast, or anybody who you think might make a good guest, shoot me a message, shoot me an email. It's onefunguypodcast@gmail.com. I will answer pretty much everything. Like I said, any critiques, criticisms, likes, dislikes, let me know. Again, I read pretty much everybody's feedback. I appreciate the feedback. The honesty has been great. Hey, do this, don't do that. I know Randy commented on tonight's show about other things, so that means a lot to me, guys, that number one, that you care, and number two is that you're watching, which is what I need. So I appreciate that more than you would ever possibly imagine. So with that being said, I will call it a night. Again, like, follow, and subscribe on my YouTube. Like, follow, and share on Facebook. And if you head over to Instagram, it's one_fun_guy_podcast. So One Fun Guy Podcast with the underscores. I pop right up. Or if you go to the Clubhouse Inc., it links up right to there. You can see the other page. So again, thank you for all the support, guys. And I will see you Friday live at 5 o'clock on the Insane Asylum, and 7 o'clock on the One Fun Guy podcast. I will put out some more messages, but I appreciate it, and I will see you Friday night. Thanks, everybody.